A Tyrannosaurus rex could kill almost anything on Earth. And yet the fossil record shows something that should be impossible. Some of them died slowly, starving, alone, with no predator anywhere near them. That's not a failed hunt. That's something else entirely. If the deadliest animal in history didn't fear other predators, what was it actually afraid of? What could scare something that had nothing left to be scared of? The answer isn't a monster. It's not a bigger predator. It's something far stranger, and far more universal, than that. Most people assume apex predators don't feel fear the way prey animals do. It's a reasonable assumption. When you're at the top of the food chain, what exactly is there to be afraid of? Movies reinforce this constantly. The predator stalks. The predator strikes. The predator never hesitates. But paleontologists studying predator behavior across multiple extinct species have found something that contradicts this picture entirely. Fear, in apex predators, wasn't about other animals at all. It was about resources disappearing. Here's the detail that changes everything. Large predators require enormous amounts of food to survive. A single missed hunting season can be catastrophic for an animal that size. Researchers studying tooth wear and bone density in aging T-Rex specimens have found signs of prolonged nutritional stress in individuals that show no injuries from combat at all. No bite marks. No broken bones from fighting. Just a body that had been slowly failing from hunger, over months, sometimes longer. Which means the thing every apex predator secretly feared wasn't teeth or claws. It was scarcity. An empty landscape. A world that simply stopped providing. Let's sit with that for a moment, because it flips our entire mental model. We picture predators as the ones causing fear, not experiencing it. But biologically, every predator is one bad season away from becoming prey to something far less dramatic than a rival hunter: starvation. This is where the story gets stranger. Because scarcity isn't a single, dramatic event. It's slow. It's quiet. And for a highly intelligent predator, it may have been the most psychologically taxing threat of all. Picture a solitary predator patrolling territory that once supported abundant prey. Season after season, the numbers thin. The predator doesn't understand climate shifts or ecosystem collapse. It only understands one thing: there used to be food here, and now there isn't. This is where the psychology deepens. Modern predator research offers a critical clue here. Big cats today, when facing prolonged food scarcity, show measurable increases in stress hormones, more erratic hunting behavior, and even aggression toward territory they'd normally avoid. If ancient predators had similar neurological wiring, and there's compelling evidence many did, then scarcity wasn't just a physical problem. It was a psychological one. A predator that has never had to compete for scraps suddenly forced into desperation-driven behavior it has no framework for. Which means the fear wasn't abstract. It was the fear of becoming an animal you don't recognize. Here's the twist that most people never consider. We assume predators fear rivals because rivals can kill them directly. But the fossil evidence suggests something quieter was far more threatening: displacement. Losing territory to a smarter, faster, more adaptable competitor didn't require violence at all. Some evidence from predator competition studies shows a pattern where one species doesn't get killed off by another. It simply gets slowly out-competed for the same shrinking resources, until there's nothing left to sustain the population. That's a different kind of fear. Not sudden. Not violent. Just a gradual erosion of everything that used to work. Let's push deeper into what this actually means for an intelligent predator. Because if a T-Rex or any large predator possessed even basic pattern recognition, it would have noticed something deeply unsettling over time. The world it had mastered was becoming a world it could no longer read. This is where things become genuinely uncomfortable to think about. An apex predator's entire identity, biologically speaking, is built around competence. Speed. Strength. The ability to reliably secure food. When that competence stops working, and the animal doesn't know why, what's left isn't just physical danger. It's something closer to confusion. A creature built for confidence suddenly operating in a world that no longer makes sense. We see hints of this in modern predator studies too. Animals experiencing prolonged environmental stress often show behavior indistinguishable from what we'd call disorientation in humans. Repeated failed strategies. Increased hesitation. A kind of behavioral stalling, as if the animal is searching for an answer its instincts can't provide. If ancient apex predators experienced anything similar, then their greatest fear wasn't a bigger monster. It was watching their own competence become useless in real time. Here's where the deeper psychological layer comes in. Because fear, in its most basic biological form, isn't really about immediate danger. It's about uncertainty. about losing the ability to predict what happens next. For a predator built entirely around mastery of its environment, few things could be more destabilizing than that mastery slowly failing, with no clear cause and no clear solution. This reframes what extinction may have actually felt like for individual predators, not species in the abstract. Not a single dramatic death. A long, disorienting decline, where the animal's own body and instincts became increasingly unreliable guides to a world that had already changed beneath it. Let's bring this to its natural conclusion. If the deadliest predators in history weren't afraid of death in the traditional sense, and they weren't primarily afraid of rivals either, then what they actually feared was irrelevance. Becoming an animal whose skills no longer matched its world. That's not a monster hiding in the dark. That's something far more universal, and honestly, far more unsettling. We don't know, of course, what individual predators actually experienced internally. We can't interview a fossil. We can't know if a starving T-Rex felt anything resembling dread, confusion, or existential unease. But the pattern the evidence reveals is remarkably consistent. Across species, across eras, the animals we assume feared nothing were often quietly grappling with something far more insidious than combat. A world that stopped cooperating, with no enemy to fight and no fight that could fix it. So the next time you picture history's deadliest predators, don't picture fearlessness. Picture instead something more familiar than you'd expect. A creature built for mastery, forced to confront a world it could no longer predict, with no claws sharp enough to fix what was actually wrong. And if the thing every apex predator feared most wasn't a rival, or a hunter, or death itself, but simply becoming irrelevant to a world that had moved on without them. What does that tell us about the fears hiding underneath our own sense of control?